Hello, David Moore, Equity Advantage with Robert Smith of Peregrine Private Capital, and it is mid-August 2023, and we are solving all kinds of things today. I am feeling better. I said I was cranky earlier. I'm feeling better, and I got to say that it's actually the 22nd of August, which is one of the best days of my life because my firstborn was born today. So happy birthday, Celia. Love you. And
she's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, she is. So, and away we go, as Mr. Nelson would say. So let's talk about some positivity at this segment, and talk about. We finished the last segment talking a little bit about why I like real estate, and so let's sort of follow that track and talk about. I'd like you to tell people what your investors are asking of you today, or what kind of things, what are they wanting, what don't they want, and sort of maybe what are they coming from? I mean, what are a lot of your people, when they get to you, what are they relinquishing? Because I mean, you don't have to be in a 1031 to buy a DST, by the way. You can pull money out of your pocket and go buy it. You could actually use retirement money to go buy it too. But a huge percentage of your business is via 1031. So with that said, where are they coming from, and what are they looking for?
David, the overwhelming amount of people are coming out of multifamily, and that's for the very simple reason that we're on the left coast, and whether it's Washington, Oregon, California, have been waging war on landlord property rights since Christ was a corporal, okay? And it's made the ownership environment for retail landlords increasingly untenable. I believe the Oregon State Legislature has either passed or is trying to pass a squatters' rights bill. We've had people come in the office and say, literally, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm out before that happens. And so
squatters' rights. I mean, and what are they proposing?
Oh, I just in terms of, well, we had a client that came in recently, and who owns a large apartment building and a state-owned facility that is adjacent to his property that housed outpatients, that kind of thing, was recently closed, and he felt compulsed to buy it and tear it down before it could be occupied by squatters, indigent, homeless people, or home-challenged people, which then you cannot legally remove.
So it was interesting because during the last crash in Detroit, I mean, I'll never forget, we had a client that I don't remember how I figured this out, but I think our client was talking about owning some properties in Detroit, and then he was actually selling them on eBay. And there was a listing. I came across one of his listings. It was like for $4,600, and it was a no reserve auction. It was like a day left, and I talked to him. I said, "What are you doing? You're going to get killed on this." But he was actually okay because he'd bought it through like a tax lien type thing, and he was going to make money at $4,600. But the reason I bring this up and derail your train of thought there is that people were literally in that area buying the properties and bulldozing them for that exact reason.
Yeah, and it's happening here. So you have lots and lots of people fleeing the retail multifamily landlord environment here, trying to get somewhere, usually a red state where property rights are respected, taxes are lower, so when you make money you get to keep more of that, and they have a multiplicity of offerings in the DST space. Obviously, coming out of the pandemic, just to play catch up, rents went up a lot in a very short period of time. that's got the attention of government, and the Biden administration is moving forward with a Tenants' Bill of Rights, which in its baldest form is national rent control. And rent control is arguably the most bearish thing for multifamily anywhere. I mean, as a multifamily investor, when we recommend it as part of our commercial real estate asset mix, the first thing we look at is what does the environment look like from a rent control standpoint. And if there's any rent control, it simply leaves the table. If there's the threat of rent control, it doesn't make it to the table. So rent control is the most bearish thing for multifamily. So as a multifamily owner, people want to get as far away from that as they possibly can. Fortunately, there's still many places in the United States where that isn't an issue and may not be an issue in the foreseeable future. So, and most retail investors they're pretty savvy. They spent their time on the street beating money out of the ground with their two fists, and they're aware that the economy is growing, albeit at a very slow rate. And that's the stagflationary environment that we predicted a number of years ago, that the economy would likely continue to grow, albeit at a very slow rate. Right now, I believe 1%. Okay, and at the same time be burdened by inflation because of profligate government spending. So most people realize the economy is still growing, albeit very slowly, so they're turning off the how much more money can I make switch and turning on the how can I hold on to the money I've made switch. So most people that we're dealing with are in an equity preservation mode, and what's the safest asset mix that we can arrive at to accomplish that.
Wow. Interesting times.
Yeah, but there's lots of good stuff out there. On a positive note, like I said, we've the self-storage message is probably redundant at this point, because the demand drivers are death, divorce, downsizing, and dislocation. All that has a tendency to go up when the economy goes down, so demand for storage usually goes up as the economy is slowing down. And then once the economy picks back up, because of lots of pent-up buying demand, people go out and buy up everything under the sun, and they got to have some place to store all that stuff. And if it doesn't fit into the house, it goes into storage. So there's an asset type that tends to work in rain or shine, and we've beat the inexorability of aging thing to death, and nothing's going to slow that process down. And so we feel that senior housing is a bright spot on the horizon for investors.
I would love to know, just out of curiosity, if somebody stores $500 worth of stuff, what the cost to keep that $500. I mean, how long do they keep that $500 worth of stuff in a mini storage unit, and what the cost of that is?
Here's a true story.
Yeah,
we've got a client, lives in Reno, big mobile home park owner up and down the West Coast.
Yeah.
Okay, and mobile home parks, they're cash cows because everybody needs them, nobody wants them. NIMBY phenomenon, not in my backyard. Calls me up one day, asks, what do you got in the way of self-storage? I said, well, why? Yeah. And he goes, well, I'm going to sell one of my parks to buy self-storage. I said, why are you doing that? Your parks are cash cows. He goes, in our business, you're not dealing with top-drawer clientele. It's usually, do I buy a new tire or I do buy a rack of beer? Okay, and the rack of beer usually wins out. Right, so you'll always have your usual suspects in terms of not being able to make the rent payment. So I'm sitting in the office one day, and one of my usual suspects comes walking in, and I'm thinking to myself, what's it going to be this time? And he said, I'm sorry, I can't make my rent payment yet. I'm tapped out. And he goes, why are you tapped out? He said, because I just paid for my 3 storage units. And he said, a little light went on in my brain that this guy's junk is more important to him than where he lives. So I need to get out of the housing business and into the junk business. That's a true story.
Funny.
So yes, Americans do love their junk. Period. Okay.
Like George Carlin used to say.
Yeah. Okay, he's right.
Right?
Okay.
So, well, We're going to do one more segment. We got to wrap it up today. We'll have some good fun with it. But David Moore, Equity Advantage, Robert Smith, Peregrine Private Capital. We'll be right back. Thank you.